Hello everyone, I am Rod and I am the game design instructor for the Academy of Entertainment Arts over at Dixie Hollands High School. If you are one of my students, it's Mr. Flowers to you, and welcome to this video tutorial. Good evening, and make sure everything's sort of in line. So what I'm going to go over today is how to set up image planes. Well, more of I guess prep versus setup. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and open up a document, and I'm just going to do 512, 512, 300 resolution, and RGB color. I'm not going to be too picky. I'm just going to do a couple sketches. Alright. So if you hop in and you don't want to see your grid, like my grid's annoying me, so I'm going to go up to View, Show, and turn my grid off. And then I'm going to hit D on the keyboard to set my defaults, and I'll grab a brush. I'm just going to grab a normal brush. Okay. So once you figure out what object you want, and you end up sketching your first one, you're going to bring it into Photoshop where you can sketch in Photoshop. I'm just going to resketch the vase because I kind of know what all that's going to be like in my head, and I'm just going to do it real quick. This is sort of the back of the vase. Maybe I'll make a little gooseneck part a little further down. And I'm not going to be like too pristine because where eraser tool? Because this is more about how to set up your guides than it is about how to draw. So I'm just going to kind of set that up. So you don't have to be copying this particular image down. I'm just kind of prepping it to give you an idea of my thought process and my work as I go through. I'm just mirroring this thing off real quick. It looks like a vase. All about that vase. I can make it a chubby vase. I think I'll make it like that. Okay, and then I will merge these two images. Again, what I'm doing here isn't very important as far as what I'm drawing, but what I'm going to do once it's drawn. And I really could have just gone with any set of images, but I wanted to go with something familiar. Alright, so we have the vase. Okay. Now what we want to do is once you have it, or your object set up and brought into Photoshop, you're going to set up your guides. Now you can do a few things. You can do View and go in and create new guide, but if you do this way, these don't output to an image file. They're just there for your viewing pleasure, and then whenever you save out a document or save out the image file, they don't go with it. So instead, what I'm going to do is manually create my guides. I'm going to come up here and pick a color. I prefer looking at green because green shows up really well in the editor and it's easier on my eyes. I'm going to do like a dark green. Switch my colors out. Grab a brush, and the thickness of your guides is up to you. I'm blind, so I usually pick a decent size thickness, but I'm going to go with, I'll do 5 pixels. That's probably okay. On objects that have really, really fine detail, you might go a little bit smoother. And then I'm going to go ahead and name this. I'll say front. This one's just background, just so I know what they are. And this one is going to be guides. Alright. So on my guides layer, what I want to do is give myself reference lines so that I know about where things are going to line up. Because when I create my second image, I want to make sure that the nose of my little vase pot here and the edge of this piece here, little head and the neck, these things all line up. And it also gives me a place when I'm modeling of where to put my edge loops. So let's say this is the top. I'm going to go ahead and click, hold shift, and just kind of cut across. So this is the top of the vase. Down here, obviously, this is the bottom of the vase. And then right here on the nose, there's that one. And I'm going to put a guide right here. Probably need one, whoops, right here. And then one guide here. I probably went a little bit too overboard up on the top layer. Probably get away with not being there. But the reason this guide is here is I want to make sure the tip of this little this nose piece is going to line up on the next image. And each one of these lines is essentially where there's an edge loop. So let's assume we made a cylinder. Okay. This top piece of the cylinder is one edge loop. This bottom piece of the cylinder is the other edge loop when you first bring it in, right? And then you're going to add as you go. So one loop here, and then one loop here will let us bevel this thing out, kind of bevel in, and then a loop here will let us pull this piece in, and then a loop along the edge will let us pull these two pieces out, so on and so forth. As I make my side view, go ahead and name this thing side. Grab my color. And what was my original line size? I forget. I'm going to have this thing at 12. No, that's too big. 8, I think, is what it was. It is. Alright. So what I'm going to do here is try to approximate where things are going to line up. This piece is going to be established as the top of the head, and then we have the body, right, because our vase is kind of round all the way through. And I'm just going to actually cheat, and instead of drawing the vase all over again, I'm actually going to come this way and draw the spout, like that. And then I have a handle, and I connected the handle about here, so I'm going to come up, come down, again, you don't have to copy my drawing. This is just me setting up. Just so you get an idea of what I do. Everybody has their own method, and you will find that yours might differ from mine. I'm going to merge these two. Hide that one. And I'm going to go ahead and cut this piece off. And actually, I shouldn't have cut that. Okay, so this needs to come down just a little bit more. And what you're looking at here is me lining up, because this right here on this version of the vase, this piece right here, is going to be where the center piece is on this face. That's this piece. So I want to make sure this lines up with that edge. And that's all my guides are for, is it helps me line everything up. And then when I put these two images together, I bring them over into Maya, and I add my edge loops, those edges are going to go in where I need them to go without adding too much detail. Alright, so I have two images, image, adjustment, canvas size. Adjust this to %. Again, we have two images that we're going to be using, so if 100 is one image, then 200 will accommodate two images. Pin it to the left, hit OK. The background piece, the side piece, and the guides I'm going to duplicate, so I'm going to select those, hold down Alt on the keyboard, make sure I have my moving tool, and just drag them off. And there we have that. And I actually didn't need to duplicate that piece, but that's fine. So now I'm going to move my guides up on the same level. I'll just merge them. So select both, merge them. So now I have my guides here, and you can see that the tip of the nose pretty much lines up with here. I'm a little bit far under, but you can look at these things side by side and see what's off. Like the nose stops here, and this one goes a little bit below, but you can fix that right here, up right in the window. So you can kind of come over here and grab my erase tool, and I can fix that without having to open up like a second image and all that stuff, because everything's right here side by side. And then what I usually do with my guides is I either drop down the opacity or I do an overlay or some sort of blending mode that helps me see without losing detail. What's an overlay look like? So overlay is too dark. So instead I will just drop my opacity down, I'll say 50%. And that should work. That way I can still see my image underneath, but I still have my guides on top. And this will give us, this will give us both sides inside of Maya, and we can use it. So when you bring your image plane over into Maya, when you create one plane, when you set its UVs, you will be setting UVs to one half of this image, and then you'll set the UVs to the other half of the other image. To kind of show how that works, we've all already done this at least once, but I will open up Maya. And while that's cooking, I will do some adjustments to my background real quick. Now, I personally don't like having this solid white. It drives me crazy when I'm trying to do UVs. So I'm going to merge these two background pieces. And I could do my background as a gray. So I'm going to find a gray color that I like and just drop that in. It's easier on my eyes, and I'll be able to see the UVs. So go ahead and save this to a place that you can find it. I'm going to save it out to my reference images. Say base model 2. Make sure I have my targa. You can load a PSD image inside of Maya. I'm just used to saving it out as two different files. Okay. Create Polygon Plane. Remember when we load in our image planes that we want to go into our channel box under Plane, Shapes, Poly Inputs. And we want to make sure that we get rid of this extra detail. So subdivisions, width, and height, make it 1. That way when we set up our UVs, we don't have to adjust 100 UVs. We only have to adjust a pair of them. So where's rendering? Drop in a Lambert. Again, we're doing Lambert because it's not shiny. So vase model. And we will go and look for the file. So I'm going to go into my game design folder. And then inside modeling, reference images, and, vase. 6 on the keyboard to make it work. And remember, we're working in units of about 1 grid space is 1 centimeter. So if I go into Photoshop and I go up to Image, and I go to, let's go to canvas size. Right here the display is in inches. If I go to centimeters, my vase will be a little over 8.5 centimeters wide and a little bit over 4 centimeters tall. So I'm just going to round this to 8 by 4. Jump into Maya. Plane, 8 centimeters wide, 4 centimeters tall, and actually I'm wrong because we have 2 images here, right? So I'll just do it 4 by 4. There we go. Because one image is half of the other one, so half of this, since this is 8 across, half of this would be 4 by 4. Go up to my UVs. Remember, your UV editor is up top. And then when I scale these, or not scale them, but when I snap to the grid, hold X, snap, snap, snap to the middle. And there we go. We have the first one set up. Duplicate that off. And then this one, and now we have 2. And you can see that because we lined up everything in Photoshop, we followed our guidelines we put in, that these are exact. So now when we start modeling, like we did before, they should all line up. Okay? So as you're making your image, just keep that in mind, that you're going to use your guides to kind of help you out. And you're welcome to pick a color and all that stuff. But that's all there really is to it. And if you have any questions, you're always welcome to ask me, and I will see you in class.